And he would always tell Zeppelin, I'm leaving the band. I can't go back to America again. I can't do all that.
In the shadowy realm of hard rock and heavy metal, few guitarists commanded as much respect and fear as Ritchie Blackmore. The enigmatic mastermind behind Deep Purple and Rainbow wasn't just a pioneering force who helped create heavy metal through crushing riffs and classical influences. He was also one of rock's most notoriously difficult perfectionists, with a legendary temper and impossibly high standards that made him despise fellow guitarists he considered inferior, pretentious, or simply unworthy of sharing the stage.
And they had brilliant guitar players. Scotty Moore, Buddy Holly played, and the guitar, and you had Cliff.
Behind the medieval obsessions and theatrical performances lurked a classically trained musician who viewed guitar playing as serious artistry requiring discipline, innovation, and genuine talent. Blackmore didn't just dislike certain approaches to guitar. He actively hated what he saw as technical show-offs, commercial sellouts, and musicians who had betrayed everything he believed rock guitar should represent. Welcome to another explosive episode where we expose the brutal honesty behind rock's most uncompromising perfectionist. Today we're revealing the shocking truth about the 7 guitarists who reportedly made Ritchie Blackmore's blood boil. The Hartford-born legend who gave us classics like Smoke on the Water and Man on the Silver Mountain had some very strong opinions about his contemporaries. And trust me, he never held back his devastating assessments of guitarists he considered beneath contempt. Number 8. Steve Vai. Landing at number 8 is the ultimate clash between intuitive artistry and calculated perfection. Steve Vai, the technically flawless virtuoso known for his surgical precision and elaborate compositions, reportedly drove Ritchie Blackmore to fury through what Blackmore saw as the complete mechanization of guitar playing that destroyed rock's essential humanity and emotional spontaneity.
Led Zeppelin, Purple, Black Sabbath. And we were lucky to be there in the beginning.
The conflict allegedly began when Vai emerged from Frank Zappa's band as a guitar hero in the 1980s. According to rock journalist Steven Rosen, Blackmore reportedly told fellow musicians, "Steve has turned guitar playing into a computer program. He's so obsessed with technical perfection that he's forgotten music is supposed to have soul and danger, not surgical precision." What bothered Blackmore was Vai's clinical approach to rock, guitar, and performance. While Blackmore built his reputation on unpredictable, emotionally charged playing that could shift from beautiful to terrifying within seconds, Vai was achieving success with what Blackmore reportedly called laboratory rock, perfectly executed compositions that prioritized technical achievement over genuine musical expression and emotional authenticity. Number 7. Yngwie Malmsteen. Coming in at number 7 is perhaps the most ironic hatred on our list. Yngwie Malmsteen, the Swedish neoclassical virtuoso who claimed to revolutionize guitar playing through Baroque-influenced compositions, reportedly became one of Ritchie Blackmore's most despised targets, despite their shared classical influences and similar theatrical approaches to rock music.
He's the same way. He was like, I said, what do you listen to? He said, pop music. I said, but you...
The animosity allegedly began in the mid-1980s when Malmsteen burst onto the scene claiming to be the greatest guitarist who ever lived. According to rock journalist Malcolm Dome, Blackmore reportedly told session musicians, "This Swedish peacock thinks he invented classical guitar in rock music. I was incorporating Bach into heavy music when he was still learning nursery rhymes, and he's doing it wrong anyway." What particularly infuriated Blackmore was Malmsteen's approach to classical integration and his outrageous public statements. While Blackmore had spent years subtly weaving Renaissance and Baroque elements into rock compositions, Malmsteen was achieving fame with what Blackmore reportedly called classical music rape, academic exercises that showed off technique without understanding the emotional core that made classical music powerful in rock contexts. The rivalry represented Blackmore's contempt for what he saw as shallow musical scholarship combined with insufferable egotism. Number 6. Kirk Hammett. Crashing in at number 6 is the generational warfare that defined metal's evolution from classical influence to speed-obsessed aggression. Kirk Hammett, Metallica's lead guitarist and one of thrash metal's most recognizable faces, reportedly earned Ritchie Blackmore's contempt for what the Deep Purple legend saw as the bastardization of everything he had created in heavy music's foundational years. The hatred allegedly began when Metallica emerged as leaders of the thrash movement in the early 1980s. According to metal historian Martin Popoff, Blackmore reportedly told industry insiders, "Kirk and his speed metal friends have taken everything we built with Deep Purple and turned it into musical chaos. They've replaced melody and dynamics with mindless aggression and called it evolution." What infuriated Blackmore was thrash metal's approach to heaviness and composition. While Blackmore had pioneered heavy metal through classical-influenced arrangements, dynamic song structures, and sophisticated guitar work, Metallica was achieving massive success with what Blackmore reportedly called punk rock played louder, aggressive speed that sacrificed musical sophistication for pure energy and volume. Number 5. Sliding into number 5 is the ultimate confrontation between authentic artistry and manufactured rock stardom. Slash, Guns N' Roses' iconic top-hat-wearing guitarist, reportedly became one of Ritchie Blackmore's most despised targets through what Blackmore saw as the triumph of image over substance in the 1980s rock's commercial explosion. The feud allegedly began when Guns N' Roses achieved massive success in the late 1980s with their combination of heavy music and rock star glamour. According to rock journalist Jeff Barton, Blackmore reportedly told colleagues, "Slash thinks wearing a top hat and sunglasses makes him mysterious, but he's just another pretty boy playing blues rock and calling it dangerous. Real guitar mystique comes from genuine artistry, not costume department nonsense." What particularly galled Blackmore was Slash's approach to guitar heroics and celebrity. While Blackmore had built his reputation through genuine innovation, classical influences, and unpredictable artistic vision, Slash was achieving superstar status with what Blackmore reportedly called MTV metal, carefully crafted image and accessible songwriting designed for maximum commercial appeal rather than artistic advancement. Number 4. Eddie Van Halen. Burning into number 4 is perhaps the most shocking rivalry in guitar innovation history. Eddie Van Halen, the Dutch-American virtuoso who revolutionized rock guitar with his explosive finger-tapping technique, reportedly became Ritchie Blackmore's most envied and resented competitor through what Blackmore saw as the triumph of athletic showmanship over genuine musical artistry. The conflict allegedly began after Van Halen's groundbreaking 1978 debut album transformed rock guitar expectations overnight. According to Guitar World editor Brad Talinsky, Blackmore reportedly told session musicians, "Eddie's turned guitar playing into a bloody circus act. He's confused athletic ability with musical expression, and now every teenager thinks showing off equals artistry." What infuriated Blackmore was Van Halen's approach to innovation and performance. While Blackmore had spent years developing sophisticated classical rock fusion and dynamic compositions, Van Halen was achieving massive success with what Blackmore reportedly called musical gymnastics, technical wizardry that prioritized impressive fingerwork over genuine songwriting and emotional depth. The rivalry represented Blackmore's belief that Van Halen had corrupted guitar playing's artistic purpose. He reportedly saw Eddie as turning genuine innovation into entertainment spectacle, making technical achievement more important than musical beauty and compositional sophistication that defined truly great guitar artistry. Number 3. Jeff Beck. Sliding into number 3 is the most bitter professional rivalry on our list. Jeff Beck, the innovative virtuoso known for his experimental approach and technical mastery, reportedly became Ritchie Blackmore's most personal enemy through decades of competition, and what Blackmore saw as Beck's arrogant dismissal of anyone he considered technically inferior. The animosity allegedly began during their overlapping time in the British blues scene of the 1960s. According to rock historian John Mayall, Blackmore reportedly told fellow musicians, "Jeff thinks his technique makes him superior to everyone else. But he's forgotten that music is supposed to move people emotionally, not just impress them with finger exercises and experimental noise. What made this rivalry particularly venomous was their competing approaches to guitar innovation and musical leadership. While Blackmore was building his reputation through classical influences and dynamic, heavy rock compositions, Beck was achieving acclaim with what Blackmore reportedly called intellectual masturbation, highly technical experimental music that prioritized innovation over emotional connection and compositional strength. The feud reportedly continued for decades, with both guitarists taking subtle digs at each other in interviews. Blackmore allegedly maintained that Beck had confused complexity with artistry, while viewing Beck's experimental phase as a betrayal of rock guitar's essential power and emotional directness. Number 2, Jimmy Page. Burning into number 2 is the ultimate British rock rivalry that defined an entire generation's approach to heavy music. Jimmy Page, Led Zeppelin's mystical mastermind, reportedly became Ritchie Blackmore's most bitter enemy through what Blackmore saw as shameless theft of credit for innovations that belonged to Deep Purple and other genuine heavy music pioneers. The feud allegedly began in the late 1960s when both guitarists were emerging as leaders of Britain's heavy rock movement. According to rock journalist Chris Welch, Blackmore reportedly told industry insiders, "Jimmy's a clever session player who's convinced everyone he invented heavy rock, but he's just playing blues louder and calling it innovation. Real heavy music requires genuine composition and classical understanding, not stolen riffs and mystical posturing." What made Blackmore's hatred particularly intense was Page's approach to heavy music and public image. While Blackmore was genuinely pioneering classical rock fusion and sophisticated heavy compositions, Page was achieving massive success with what Blackmore reportedly called blues rock theater, elaborate mystical imagery that disguised relatively simple musical approaches as profound artistic statements. The rivalry represented Blackmore's belief that Page had stolen credit for genuine innovations while building a career on what Blackmore allegedly called borrowed power and manufactured mystery, making Page's success a betrayal of authentic heavy music development and classical rock fusion artistry. Number 1, Eric Clapton. Taking the top spot is the ultimate betrayal that shattered Ritchie Blackmore's faith in guitar heroism authenticity. Eric Clapton, the blues purist once called God by his fans, reportedly became Blackmore's most hated guitarist through what Blackmore saw as the ultimate fraud. A technically limited player who achieved legendary status through media manipulation and shameless appropriation of American blues without genuine innovation or classical advancement. The hatred allegedly began in the mid-1960s British blues scene, where both guitarists were competing for recognition. According to music journalist Robert Greenfield, Blackmore reportedly told session musicians, "Eric plays the same 3 blues licks slower than everyone else, and somehow the press calls him a god." Real guitar artistry requires classical knowledge, innovative composition, and genuine technical advancement, not just copying American blues players note for note. What made Blackmore's contempt particularly venomous was Clapton's media image versus his actual musical contributions. While Blackmore was incorporating classical elements and developing sophisticated rock compositions, Clapton was achieving superstar status with what Blackmore reportedly called blues museum curation, faithful reproduction of traditional American blues without adding any genuine innovation or advancing guitar artistry beyond simple repetition. And there you have it, the 7 guitarists who made Ritchie Blackmore see red. Which classical rock feud shocked you most? Drop your thoughts below, like, and subscribe for more explosive guitar rivalries.